We'll start with a brief kind of review what we said about Gaza in the previous meeting, to which you got a link for the recording and the PDF. And I'll talk a little bit about what we're going to do to talk about today. We'll talk a little bit about Gaza. By no means we're not going to finish this series today, but we will talk about Gaza, and I'll try to kind of connect it to current events in some ways. Last time we've talked about the position of Gaza as kind of a border definition of the border of the land of Canaan and the Trans-Euphrates or Ever Nahar, the Eber Nari or Avar Nahara beyond the river, the Trans-Euphrates province of the Assyrians, then the Babylonians, then the Persians. So it's a critical point, as you can see, on the road between Egypt and the land of Canaan. So basically, everyone going either to Egypt or from Egypt would pass through the area of the Gaza Strip, what is today the Gaza Strip. It wasn't the name Gaza Strip is a very modern name, but the area is obviously not a modern area. And last time we finished with the biblical history, and we've mentioned Hezekiah conquering Gaza as kind of a part of the preparations for the Assyrian siege that would come in 701, famous siege that was not able to conquer Jerusalem, but basically was able to conquer everything else except for Jerusalem. One of the most interesting events in the Bible, because we have so many accounts of this event, both in the Bible. We have roughly three different accounts of this event in the Bible, and outside the Bible in extra biblical sources, Assyrian sources, even a little bit Babylonian sources. So it's one of those very interesting events in the Bible. And part of that event, which you remember, Hezekiah is the king, Isaiah is the prophet, and Sennacherib is the Assyrian king. And you might remember the famous speech of Rav Shakeh and the discussion about I love it as a teacher of Hebrew. He says they talk to him and they say, don't speak Jewish or Yehudit. Okay, that's the name of the language of Hebrew in the biblical times. Anyway, that was 700 BCE roughly, and we've kind of concluded with that. By the end of the First Temple period, the Babylonians, they destroy the temple, and who allows us to return? These are the Persians. So we have the Persians, and today we'll talk about Alexander the Great, who conquered Israel basically from the hand of the Persians, and his siege of Gaza. Gaza is a city that was besieged many times. And like Jerusalem, by the way, we'll talk about the Hasmoneans, because you know what month we are in, right? We are in the month of Kislev. Kislev. And obviously not etymologically, but popular etymology talks about the kis, which is the pocket, and the lev, which is the heart. And people here opened both their heart and their pockets. So that's the month of Kislev, in which we celebrate Chanukah, in which we also open our hearts and our pockets. So Chanukah, we'll talk about the connection between the Hasmoneans, the Maccabees, known as the Maccabees, and Gaza, which really Alexander the Great sets the stage for that period. And then we'll talk about the conquest of, or kind of semi-conquest of Gaza by Jonathan Ephes, who was the youngest son of Matityahu, not the rapper, obviously, not Matisyahu, the singer, but rather Mattathias or Matityahu, the priest, the Hasmonean, the father of Judah Maccabee. So Judah Maccabee was one of 5 boys, and the youngest was Jonathan. We'll talk about Jonathan's siege of Gaza, and we'll talk about another Jonathan of the Hasmonean family of the Maccabees, who also sieged Gaza. So it's almost like history repeats itself. There were repeating names, by the way, in Jewish history, but not just in Jewish history. Oftentimes, lines tend to have similar names. You see that already from the Bible to an extent, a little bit, and certainly in the post-biblical world, both Hellenistic world and other Near Eastern societies, as well as in Jewish society of the Second Temple. So another Jonathan, known better as Alexander Jannaeus in English, or Yanai, Alexander Yanai in Jewish sources, but his name was probably Jonathan as well, Jonathan. as well. So he also besieges, he has a siege against the city of Gaza. And we'll talk a little bit about Gaza in the Roman period with Herod, and Gaza during the Byzantine period, and even, and that would lead us to the discussion about the ancient synagogue of Gaza and the map of Madaba. So as always, I've prepared more than more than I should. I actually started getting into the